Well, I really thought we'd get a break with these AI advancements in December with the holidays here and everything, but I was totally wrong because Google just announced Gemini, and we actually have a usable version of Gemini that we can play around with right now today. So in this video, I'm going to dig into what's new with Gemini and what we know so far and how you can actually go and use it yourself. Let's get into it. So today, December 6, 2023, Google and Deepmind introduced Gemini. Now, this is a pretty hefty article here with all the details about Gemini. I've pretty much gone through it all, watched all the videos, read all the tweets, and here's what I think you need to know about it. So they're calling this version Gemini 1.0, and it's going to start off in 3 different sizes: Gemini Ultra, which is their largest, most capable model; Gemini Pro, the best model for scaling across a wide range of tasks. This is the one that we actually have access to now. And then Gemini Nano, which is the most efficient model for on-device tasks. And this one seems to be mostly designed for mobile use cases. We also know that this model was built from the ground up to be multimodal, meaning it can generalize and seamlessly understand, operate across, and combine different types of information, including text, code, audio, image, and video. When you look at something like GPT-3 and GPT-4, these were initially trained from the ground up to be text models and just recently have been upgraded to accept both images and audio.
Multimodal models are created by stitching together text-only, vision-only, and audio-only models in a suboptimal way at a secondary stage. Gemini is the multimodal from the ground up, so it can seamlessly have a conversation across modalities and give you the best possible response.
Gemini will be available in 3 sizes. Gemini Ultra, our most capable and largest model for highly complex tasks; Gemini Pro, our best performing model for a broad range of tasks; and Gemini Nano, our most efficient model for on-device tasks.
Now, in benchmarking tests, Gemini Ultra actually outperformed GPT-4 in most cases. Now, keep in mind, Gemini Ultra is the model that we don't have access to yet. This is the model we'll likely get next year. We have access to Gemini Pro right now, which is a closer comparison to GPT 3.5, which you get inside of the free version of ChatGPT. But this Gemini Ultra model, when given the MMLU test, which represents questions in 57 different subjects, including STEM, humanities, and others, it performed at 90% compared to GPT-4's 86.4%. In reasoning, we can see that it just barely outperformed GPT-4 in this big bench hard, which is a diverse set of challenging tasks requiring multi-step reasoning. In this drop test here for reading comprehension, it slightly outscored GPT-4, and in this Hella Swag test, which is common sense reasoning for everyday tasks, it underperformed against GPT-4, which is the only area of these benchmarks that it underperformed. In math, it slightly outperformed GPT-4 in basic arithmetic and in challenging math problems. Keep in mind that neither of these performed very well in challenging math problems. These would be Fs on most tests. For Python code generation, it performed at 74.4% compared to GPT-4's 67%. Now, they also tested it against GPT-4V. We can see here that in these tests, once again, it's all Gemini Ultra that they're testing, except for these audio tests down here, which they actually did test with Gemini Pro. So in pretty much every single image recognition benchmark, like natural image understanding, OCR, document understanding, infographic understanding, and mathematical reasoning in visual context, it outperformed GPT-4 vision. And in OCR, document understanding, and infographic understanding, it actually outperformed quite a bit. With video captioning and video question answering, it outperformed GPT-4. With audio automatic speech translation, Gemini Pro outperformed OpenAI's Whisper v2. And in automatic speak recognition, in which a lower score is actually better, Gemini Pro outperformed Whisper version 3. So it sounds like Gemini Ultra, again, the version that we won't get access to till next year, outperforms GPT-4 in almost every way. Ethan Mollick here sums it up pretty well what changed today? Here's the simple version. There's no reason to use the free version of ChatGPT anymore because that uses GPT 3.5. And as of today, that's outclassed by Bard, which is now using Gemini Pro, and Claude, both which you can use for free. But again, you should probably still be using GPT-4 because it's still dominant and it's free to use in Bing. And again, all those benchmarks we just looked at are pretty much not available yet until we get Gemini Ultra. Where Gemini really seems to shine is with its ability to understand visuals and text and all these modalities all at the same time. In fact, here's some examples that they shared in some of their demos today. In this example, they gave a worksheet with a bunch of math problems on it, and the math problems are already done with the handwriting and some of the work being shown, and they asked to essentially check the answers.
It can read the answers and understand what was right and what was wrong, and explain the concepts that need more clarification. So Gemini identified some mistakes with problems 1 and 3 here. Let's take a look at 3. Here, Gemini identifies that the formula was correct, but there was a mistake in calculating height. We can ask Gemini to explain in more details why the height is 50 meters instead of 6. I can ask Gemini to explain further. Here, Gemini explains the step-by-step details to solving the problem. Because of Gemini's ability to understand nuanced information, and answer questions relating to complicated topics, it can give you a customized explanation of the subject you're trying to learn.
Google also put up this really cool video on YouTube that shows all sorts of different ways that you can use the multimodality. So check this out.
Tell me what you see.
I see you placing a piece of paper on the table. I see a squiggly line. The contour lines are smooth and flowing, with no sharp angles or jagged edges. It looks like a bird to me.
What if I add this?
The bird is swimming in the water. It has a long neck and beak. It is a duck.
Yes.
The duck appears to be blue. This is not a common color for ducks.
Keep in mind that this is responding in near real time. From what I can tell, there's no delay from him starting to color and Gemini replying saying the duck is blue.
It is more common for ducks to be brown, black, or white.
Are you sure?
What the quack? I was just talking about a blue duck, and now you're holding one. It looks like blue ducks are more common than I thought.
Would this float?
I'm not sure what material it's made of, but it looks like it might be rubber or plastic.
What if I tell you it's making a squeaking sound?
Oh, if it's squeaking, it's definitely going to float. It is a rubber duck. It is made of a material that is less dense than water.
Can you teach me how to say this in a different language? Ooh, can you explain how to pronounce the Mandarin one?
So it also seems to be multilingual, so it could help you understand these words in different languages and even help pronounce them.
Is pronounced with a first tone. In Mandarin, there are 4 tones, which are essential to distinguish the meaning of words. The first tone is a high-level tone.
Okay, based on what you see, come up with a game idea. Oh, and use emojis, please.
How about this? We can play a game called Guess the Country.
Sure, let's do it.
Clue 1. This country is the home of the kangaroo, the koala, and the Great Barrier Reef.
Oh, that's easy.
Fast forwarding in the video a little bit here, we actually see the capabilities of it generating both text and image as a response. So check this out.
Give me some ideas for what I could make with this.
I see pink and green yarn. How about a dragon fruit?
You can see it suggested a dragon fruit and then actually drew a picture of what that would look like.
Or how about a green cake with a pink heart?
Once again, it created a green cake with a pink heart. So it's suggesting what you can do with this and then also drawing a picture of what that could look like. And it goes on and it shows more examples of this type of thing. And then it starts to go into these logic problems here.
Which way should the duck go?
Going left leads to a duck, which is a friend. Going right leads to a bear, which is a foe. It is better to make friends than foes, so the duck should go left.
Smart choice.
Now, this one actually kind of blew me away. It's actually a sort of connect the dots sort of drawing, and I was actually able to figure out what the drawing is by just looking at the numbers and the dots.
This is a picture of a crab.
I don't know how it did that. That's crazy to me. There's a whole bunch of really cool examples where he draws pictures, asks more questions about the pictures. And here he actually drew a picture of an acoustic guitar and it was actually able to respond with, I see you drawing a guitar, and then actually gave an audio sound of an acoustic guitar. Now it says,
you've added an amp. Now it's an electric guitar. We can make some seriously loud music now.
Now it's drums.
Given that you added drums, how about some 80s hair metal?
and it's actually generating that audio based on what it's seeing in the images. I'll make sure the video is linked up below because some of these examples are really, really cool. I'm pretty sure they're using Gemini Ultra and not Gemini Pro. Pretty mind-blowing what Gemini is going to be able to do. Now, here's an example where they showed Gemini turning images into code.
I'll start with this image of a tree and just select the part I want and then ask Gemini, can you turn this image into an SVG? This represents the main shapes of a tree. Let's see. That's pretty good.
Not the most impressive tree.
Now I want to try a more difficult test. Let's see if Gemini can make an interactive demo in JavaScript. Okay, here we go. A common algorithm for this is called a fractal tree.
Now that's really cool.
Okay. This is pretty cool. Gemini even provided a slider, so I can change and move the fractals.
Now here's Gemini actually looking at outfits and telling us what scenario this outfit is good for.
What is someone wearing this best dressed to do? Perfect for staying warm in the tundra. Good color for blending in with glacial ice. Okay, how about another one? Intergalactic travel. How about this one? To boldly go where no one has gone before and play some jazz.
Here's Gemini using some logic to guess movies based on just images alone.
Given the play on words in these images, guess the name of the movie.
The Breakfast Club. Breakfast at Tiffany's. Uncut Gems.
And here's Gemini looking at multiple images to find similarities between the images.
We'll start with these two, the Bosch's Chapel and this print by Hokusai. And I'll prompt Gemini, find a connection between these two images. A curved and organic composition, the building is more refined, and the second image is more fluid. Okay, let's try another one using the moon and this golf ball on my webcam. Okay, let's see. In 1971, the Apollo 14 crew hit 2 golf balls on the lunar surface. Okay, then one more just for fun. Who wore it better? The zebra. Oh, I like this. The zebra has been wearing its stripes for millions of years.
Now moving along, Gemini Ultra is also really good at coding, including competitive programming.
That includes Python, Java, C++, and Go. It substantially improves coding abilities over previous PaLM 2 models. We are tasked with computing aggregate statistics that account for what appears to be an impossibly large amount of random arrays. The really cool thing is that to solve it, AlphaCode 2 makes use of dynamic programming. Dynamic programming is an advanced algorithmic technique which basically simplifies a complicated problem by breaking it down into easier subproblems again and again. And what's really impressive is that not only AlphaCode 2 knows how to properly implement this strategy, but also when and where to use it.
Now, one thing to note about what we just watched over those last few demos that isn't actually explicitly mentioned in any of the blog posts Google put out, but was mentioned in a press briefing, is that none of the Gemini models will initially be able to generate images. So those examples where we saw the images generated with Yarn, it's not going to output those images at launch. It plans to add that capability in the future. Gemini's multimodal nature, its ability to understand and produce both text and imagery simultaneously, was supposed to match OpenAI's capabilities. Now, I wasn't on that press briefing, but TechCrunch also confirmed this. And another key limitation, while the Gemini Ultra architecture supports image generation, as does Gemini Pro in theory, the capability won't make its way into the productized version of the model at launch. That's perhaps because the mechanism is slightly more complex than how ChatGPT generates images. Rather than feed prompts to an image generator like DALL-E 3 in ChatGPT's case, Gemini outputs images natively without any intermediary step. The article goes on to say that they didn't provide a timeline as to when image generation might arrive, only an assurance that the work is ongoing. Jumping back to the Google article, it claims that it was built with responsibility and safety at the core. They're adding new protections to account for Gemini's multimodal capabilities. It has the most comprehensive safety evaluations, including for bias and toxicity. And basically they're saying that safety is at the core of this and they're trying to prevent abuse as much as possible. However, one thing that was noted from this press briefing, according to this TechCrunch article, is that Google repeatedly refused to answer questions from reporters about how it collected Gemini's training data, where the training data came from, and whether any of it was licensed from a third party. So as we know, OpenAI has kind of gotten into some hot water, and a lot of people have tried to sue them recently for training on their data without approval, and Google is keeping their mouth shut right now on where this training data came from, whether it's due to ethical implications or just because they want to keep it as proprietary as possible. I'm not sure. Now, at the press briefing, they did reveal that at least a portion of the data was from public web sources and that Google filtered it for quality and inappropriate material, but they didn't address the elephant in the room, whether creators who might have unknowingly contributed to Gemini's training data can opt out or expect/request compensation. Now, there is also a 60-page sort of research document here all about Gemini. I'm not going to dive too deeply into this, but I will link it up below if you want to really get into the weeds. There are some other YouTubers who I highly respect, like David Shapiro and Matthew Berman, who will likely get into the weeds a little bit more for you on this kind of research in their videos. But in this paper, we can see more examples of math problems handwritten on paper and then sort of helped out by Gemini. A nice little visual that really doesn't tell us that much other than you can input text, audio, images, and video. It sort of pulls them all together, pushes them through a transformer, and then outputs both images and text. We've got more in-depth benchmarking data about how Gemini Ultra and Pro performed against GPT-4, 3.5, Palm 2L, Claude 2, Inflection 2, Grok, and Llama 2, in which case Gemini Pro, which we do have access to right now, I'll get to that in a minute, actually outperforms GPT 3.5 in every single case here. And Gemini Ultra outperformed GPT-4 in almost every single case here. There's also a nice little example in this paper here where they give an input image and an input audio. What's the first step to make a veggie omelet with these ingredients? Crack the eggs into a bowl and whisk them. Thank you for the instructions. I started making my omelet. Does it look ready now? It looks like it's almost ready. You can flip it over to cook the other side, etc. And using these images and an audio prompt, it is getting instructions on each next step in a process. And then down towards the bottom of the paper, we have a lot more examples of what it's capable of. Image of a plant. Do you know what is this plant? How do I best take care of it? This is a Persian shield plant. And then it goes on to give instructions and details about the plant. They give it this image with a triangle, a square, a pentagon, and then it asks which shape should be next, and it correctly says the fourth shape should be a hexagon. And there's all sorts of great examples, some that we've already seen in some of their demo videos. But let's talk about availability now. It says here, Gemini 1.0 is now rolling out across a range of products and platforms. Gemini Pro in Google products. Starting today, December 6, 2023, Bard will use a fine-tuned version of Gemini Pro. This is the biggest upgrade to Bard since it launched, and it will be available in English in more than 170 countries and territories, and we plan to expand to different modalities and support new languages and locations in the near future. They're also bringing Gemini to Pixel. The Pixel 8 Pro is the first smartphone engineered to run Gemini Nano, which is powering new features like Summarize in the Recorder app and rolling out in Smart Reply in Gboard, starting with WhatsApp. So that'll be kind of cool. You'll get a Summarize feature in the Record app. So theoretically, you can open up a recording app in your Pixel 8 Pro, ramble for 20 minutes about some thoughts, and then get a summary of it. Or set your phone in the middle of a conference table during a meeting, record the whole meeting, and then get a summary of that meeting directly from your phone. And apparently a version of Gemini has already been in use inside of the Google search generative experience. On December 13th, they're going to start making Gemini Pro available via API for developers. And again, Gemini Ultra is coming soon. Today, Google also put out an article on their blog. Bard gets its biggest upgrade yet with Gemini, basically saying you get access to Gemini Pro inside of Bard right now. They did a collaboration with Mark Rober here. I'm not going to show the whole video, but they basically tasked Mark Rober to make the most efficient paper airplane and get it through this ring of fire up here. And of course, using Bard with Gemini Pro, he managed to complete his task. But let's jump into Bard itself. When I open up Bard now over at bard.google.com, I get a new notification at the top. Bard has been updated in English with Gemini Pro. It also says, look out for Bard Advanced with Gemini Ultra coming early next year. And if we click on this little See Update link, we get this update 12/6/2023. Bard is getting its biggest upgrade yet with Gemini Pro. It says Bard is far more capable at things like understanding and summarizing, reasoning, coding, and planning. You can try out Bard with Gemini Pro for text-based prompts with support for other modalities coming soon. So it doesn't seem like we can really use image-based prompts yet. Another interesting thing of note is when I logged into Bard today, I saw this message. I've never seen it in Bard before, and it says, your conversations are being processed by human reviewers to improve the technologies powering Bard. Don't enter anything you wouldn't want reviewed or used. So don't enter any private data because they are watching and reading the conversations at the moment. Now, I do have the option here to upload an image, so I can do that, but I don't believe it's actually using Gemini when I upload this image. I'll ask it, what is this an image of? It says the image has been removed. Sorry, I can't help with images of people yet. All right, let's try this image instead. The image you sent is of SpongeBob SquarePants holding a tray of buns. The text on the image says, hold my bun. And then it gives some explanation of the reference. So not bad. I'm not sure, honestly, if this is using Gemini or not. Based on what I just read, it's not. This is still PaLM 2, I guess, when you add images. I'm not totally sure on that. Now, I'm using one of their example prompts, and I clicked complex topic here, and it suggests briefly summarize this concept, urban planning. You are an expert on this concept and are able to explain it in a clear and concise manner, use simple language and avoid jargon, provide a brief definition of the term, and then discuss the key aspects of the concept, be concise. So it actually did all of that extra prompt engineering for me, but this also shows that it's still expecting a little bit of prompt engineering to get really good results. The response was ultra fast, and it seemed to do a pretty good job of breaking down the explanation here. But again, I'm having a hard time really telling the difference between what Bard used to do and what Gemini is now doing instead. But so far, it seems to be working pretty well. Let's see. Let's try write Java code. Write a Java function that takes a path as an input and creates a file called date.txt, storing the current system date. Consider edge cases. Quite a bit slower with code generation, but it still did this here. Here's a Java function that takes a path as an input and creates a file called date.txt, storing the current system date considering edge cases. And then it wrote this code. I don't really know Java, so if you know Java and you want to pause the screen and evaluate this code here, go for it. I don't really know what I'm looking at. It then explains what the function is doing. So one thing I am noticing is that the responses I'm getting out of Bard here are quite a bit longer than the responses I used to get. So I do think that this is using Gemini just based on the length of these responses. I'm going to use this prompt that they shared in their research paper here and test to see if it comes up with this same final answer here. If it does it correctly, we should get this fraction here, which I don't even really know how to say. It seems to have come to a slightly different conclusion here, and I'm really bad at calculus, so I'm not quite sure if this answer is also correct, but it didn't come up with the same response that we got in their paper here. But this may have also been using Gemini Ultra and not the Gemini Pro model that we have access to here. Unfortunately, it's really hard to test because what we seem to have access to in Bard right now, being Gemini Pro, it should be on par with GPT 3.5 or the free version of ChatGPT. And it's really the Gemini Ultra that's going to give us all of these really, really exciting features that they showed off today. So while Bard seems to have gotten a lot better, the real exciting advancement is the one that we haven't been able to actually play around with ourselves yet. Again, we should have access to that sometime next year. We don't know how soon into the year next year, but sometime next year. But again, Bard has improved a lot. I don't necessarily think it's a ChatGPT killer yet, but I do think when Gemini Ultra comes out, it'll probably be even more advanced than what they even announced right now, and probably will be even better than what we get with GPT-4. That is assuming GPT-4 doesn't roll out some more amazing advancements between now and then. We'll just have to wait and see. But that's my breakdown of the Gemini news from today. That's kind of everything we know so far. Exciting to see this progress. I'm excited to get my hands on Gemini Ultra. For now, I'm probably still going to mostly use Claude and GPT-4, but Bard is getting better and better, and I think it's only a matter of time before Google really catches up with OpenAI and Microsoft and what they're doing over there. So exciting advancements. Can't wait to see more of it. If you love nerding out about this kind of stuff, check out futuretools.io. I curate all the coolest AI tools, all the latest AI news, and I even have a free newsletter where I will put all those cool tools and all the latest AI news directly in your inbox. Also, this channel is extremely close to 500,000 subscribers. I've almost hit 500,000 subscribers, which is just blowing my mind right now. Thank you so much to everybody that subscribed. I want to do a special little giveaway. as soon as I hit 500,000 subscribers, I plan to give 5 random subscribers to this channel a pair of Meta AI Ray-Ban smart glasses. All you got to do is subscribe to this channel, and as soon as I pass 500,000, I am going to pick 5 random subscribers. Whether you're a new subscriber or an old subscriber, you have a chance to win. So if you haven't already, click subscribe. And if you like this video and you want to see more of these types of videos in your YouTube feed, give this video a like, and I'll make sure that more videos like this around AI news, AI tutorials, AI research, and all of that cool stuff shows up in your YouTube feed. Once again, I really, really appreciate you and am just blown away at how fast all of this AI stuff is moving. I love nerding out about it. I'm glad I have people like you who love nerding out about it with me. So thank you once again for tuning in. I really appreciate you. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.